Imagine this for a second. What if doing the absolute right thing made you the only person left standing? Seriously, how long do you think you could hold your ground before the pressure just became way too much?
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking one of the most dramatic, honestly unforgettable accounts in human history, the Ark of Integrity, Noah's legacy of faithfulness. Now, we aren't just looking at this as some historical tale about a massive boat and a bunch of animals. No, we're diving into this text as a literal masterclass in personal character, survival, and just unwavering obedience.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll be walking chronologically through 4 key areas: a world in darkness, integrity when it is unpopular, one person changes history, and finally, hope follows the storm. All right, let's jump right in.
Starting off with Section 1, a world in darkness, looking at the moral condition of humanity.
You know, to really grasp the magnitude of Noah's actions, we have to look at the pre-flood era. Humanity was, well, entirely consumed by wickedness. Wrongdoing wasn't just common, it was the absolute norm. But then, in stark contrast, you have Noah, righteous, finding favor and walking faithfully with God. It's this incredible juxtaposition between a world where evil is totally normalized and a single guy deliberately choosing a completely different path.
The source text paints a really grim picture here, noting that evil was no longer the exception, but the rule. The moral condition had deteriorated so much that every thought of the human heart was just focused on evil. And when you look at it against that backdrop, choosing to stand apart, that becomes an act of unbelievable bravery.
Which brings us to Section 2, integrity when it is unpopular, standing alone in a corrupted society.
This highlights a core truth about personal character. Integrity matters most when society is corrupt, and faithfulness is frankly unpopular. I mean, think about it. It's incredibly easy to do the right thing when everyone is cheering you on, right? But the true measure of your character? That's when you are entirely alone. Noah's choices weren't shaped by public opinion or whatever was trending. They were shaped by an unwavering commitment to what was actually right.
Let's just walk through how improbable this whole process was. First, God gives the instructions. Then, Noah spends years, literally years, building this enormous vessel. The text estimates it was about the size of 1.5 football fields. And he's building this massive thing right on dry land. Because of this totally absurd sight, he endures relentless public mockery. Yet he completes it through faithful daily action. Just imagine waking up every single day to face a mocking crowd, just to keep building a massive boat miles away from any ocean. Crazy, right?
So the crucial takeaway here is the very definition of faith itself, trusting instructions and demonstrating obedience through consistent action even before the results become visible. Noah didn't wait around for an early weather report before picking up his hammer. He acted purely on trust.
Moving on to Section 3, one person changes history, the flood and the preservation of life.
So, the massive ark is finally finished. The door shuts. Noah and the animals are boarded safely inside. And then, the rains begin. 40 days and 40 nights of relentless rain covering the earth. We really need to emphasize the sheer scale of this judgment here. The floodwaters swept away that corrupted society we just talked about, making it a catastrophic event of just unprecedented proportions.
What's fascinating here is the stark contrast in outcomes. Outside the ark, the consequence was justice and judgment, and tragically, life perished. But inside, you have provision and protection, where life was preserved. The flood wasn't just this chaotic force of destruction, it was a sobering consequence for deep-rooted corruption, while simultaneously being a meticulously designed safe haven for those who trusted God.
And it really all comes down to one. A single, faithful individual can change the future for generations. Noah was just one guy in a completely corrupted world. He probably seemed totally insignificant to everyone else. Yet, his obedience was the exact hinge upon which the survival of all humanity swung.
The choices we make today create ripple effects that continue for generations. Look, it is so easy to fall into the trap of assuming that one person can't make a meaningful difference. We look at the sheer scale of the world's problems, we watch the news, and we just feel small. But Noah's story completely challenges that assumption. Your acts of kindness, your moments of integrity, your absolute refusal to compromise your convictions, they literally echo through time. You just never know how your single act of courage might inspire or even save the people coming after you.
Finally, we reach Section 4, Hope Follows the Storm.
emerging into a transformed world.
The 40 days of rain finally come to an end. Slowly, the floodwaters start to recede. The Ark eventually comes to rest, and that door opens to relief, gratitude, and absolute awe. The storm had passed, and a new chapter was beginning. Just try to imagine the overwhelming emotional release of stepping out of that dark, noisy hole, taking a massive deep breath of clean air, and looking out over a completely washed, newly transformed world.
And this brings us to the concept of a covenant. The source text describes God's promise never again to destroy the earth by a flood, which is forever symbolized by a rainbow in the sky. This isn't just some neat meteorological phenomenon, It's a lasting, visible guarantee of mercy and grace. It's a reminder that beyond the darkness, there really is light.
Let's lock in these 3 timeless truths we've uncovered today. First, integrity matters most when society is corrupt. Second, one person's faithfulness absolutely makes a difference. And third, hope always emerges after judgment. These aren't just ancient historical footnotes. They are highly practical lessons for the personal floods we face in our own lives today.
Because here's the reality for all of us digging into this explainer right now. Mistakes do not define your future. Failure is not the final chapter. And storms eventually pass. When you're going through a season in your life that feels exactly like a flood, whether that's immense hardship, of painful loss, or just deep disappointment, it's incredibly easy to feel like the water is just going to keep rising forever. But this story of post-flood restoration is a direct reminder to you that difficult seasons do not last. There is always dry ground waiting for you on the other side.
So, I'll leave you with this. When the floodwaters of life inevitably rise, will you choose to stand with integrity, even if you are standing completely alone? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. If these insights helped you see things a bit more clearly, go ahead and hit like, share it with a friend, and subscribe. Your next deep dive into incredible source material is just a click away. I'll see you next time.